Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Big Chonas, Friday night. Hope everybody's had a great week and hope everybody's looking forward to a great weekend. We are going to take a look at some of the price action tonight in crypto and especially in Bitcoin because a lot is going on. This has been a pretty brutal week, let's face it, in Bitcoin, a lot of these alts as well. Not all, but definitely most of them here, where we see these really brutal pullbacks in Bitcoin, and that has basically kind of flown through the entire market. Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and a lot of the alts have been basically correcting and taking some pretty steep downward price action over the past several days. So let's kind of see where we're at right now, and kind of see where we might be going. Now, a couple things I want to take a look at here. Let's go to the daily chart. We are about 45 minutes away from the end of trading today, and what we're looking at here is basically, the first thing I want to look at is the volume. So what we have here is right down the bottom here, we see our volume has been kind of trailing off, you know, nothing crazy, consistent, but not anything huge over the past several weeks. So there's not much I can kind of really tell from that to basically say, okay, we're in a new trend or not a new trend. Basically, it's consistent. So on the daily here, we see how our RSI right over here is finding a little support in a couple areas here that used to act as resistance over here, and then acted as support over here and over here back in the early part of the year. So what we're seeing here is we are finding some stability here. The daily, the stock RSI is basically pegged off on bottom, flat. Both the red and the green, sorry, the red and the blue lines here are both together. So they've met up, which basically means that from a basically risk versus reward, kind of how where we are in the marketplace here. This is kind of where you want to see to basically think of a next trend higher. However, with the RSI where it is here, if this were to break its support, we could definitely test some of those oversold regions we had found support in and had a huge bounce back when we bottomed in February, and then we actually held support here. That has basically allowed us to have this run. OBV is definitely selling off slightly as the price moves lower as well. Let's zoom into the 4-hour chart here, and you see how oversold we are on the RSI. But still, look how long we've been here. We've been here all day. Here we were there all day as well, and here we were there for just about a little bit. So right now, historically, we are very oversold. Again, on the stock RSI is also bottomed out. When the 4-hour, which we have here, and the daily match up similarly, it's kind of interesting. That basically corresponds with an area of dual oversoldness, if you will, and potentially a decent entry point. We still have the OBV falling, and we have just many bars consistently in the 4-hour of selling pressure. Now, last night I did put a tweet out where I found that there would be support somewhere in this 8,400 to as low as 8,200 area. And for now, we did find support right at 8,350 area. This is on the Coinbase exchange. So for now, we have actually hit that kind of first level of support that I was looking into and seeing where this was going to bounce, and if this could bounce to potentially retest somewhere up into that 9,000 area, which is now going to be tremendous resistance. So right now we're over here, and now this line here, which was resistance here and resistance here, could potentially be tested somewhere over here in a day or two. And that puts us right around $9,000, maybe even a little longer. So that is very large support, resistance. But before we even get there, we have another resistance level, which we blew through as support, none found there. But we have a lot of history here, somewhere in the 8,800 area. So before we can even talk about 9,000, we have to compete with this 8,800 area here, which is kind of act as pretty strong resistance if we were able to get up there. And because we're in these oversold conditions here, I wouldn't be surprised if we bounce around this area here for, the evening. We would basically I was looking for this 8,300 area to kind of hold and see if we could basically prove that we have some sort of a short-term bottom. Does correspond over here with some resistance areas over here, and way back, we definitely have some history back in March in this area here as well. But I mean, geez, this has been such a brutal pullback here. All that progress we had after that super green candle, which is still very suspect, back on April 12th, that brought us this entire wave. This clearly shows to me there was not a lot of strength. There was not a lot of conviction in a lot of this move here, because we were able to, just like a hot knife through butter, come down so quickly and basically retest this 83 range. I even put a tweet out at the beginning of May about, do people expect 10,300, or do people expect 10,000 sorry 8,300? And basically what you have a situation here where 8,300 has definitely found that kind of first touch. And that's kind of interesting there, because people were very bullish. They were very bullish not too long ago, and then it just shows you how quickly market conditions can change. And these are things that you have to kind of keep an eye on and be prepared for. So let's get back here to Bitcoin. So we are finding a little support here in this 8,400 area. We have a nice wick here of support. This is clearly translating to what's happening with the altcoins as well, Litecoin, Ethereum. Let's zoom in a little bit to the 30-minute chart here, kind of see where we'll action here. Not a lot of volume. People are not very super strong in this area, which means one of two things. If we are able to hold this 8,300 area, we could definitely bounce around here for a while. The longer we're able to stay here, the better chance we have actually is to move a little higher. See how lower we are from these, EMAs, the 55, the 100, the 21, the 8, and even on the 4-hour, which has held for so long. This is that red line there, the 200-day, that broke through pretty quickly here. So I'm watching the 200-day on a bounce up, which is currently, interestingly, around the 8,800 area here. So if we were able to find some conviction and move higher, the 8,800 area becomes that next kind of area of resistance I'd keep an eye on. But for now, this is a very tricky, very risky moment right now. We're trying to see some value here in these prices, which seem to be cheap, but every time they seem to be cheap, they seem to dump further. Let's go right into Litecoin here. Now listen, I've been kind of wrong in my last couple trades with Litecoin. I actually expected a little more out of it. I'm very surprised how easily this has dumped. We were down $50 from where we were on our highs a week ago, back in $182. Now we bottomed somewhere potentially short term at around 133. It's $50 off the price of Litecoin in a very short amount of time there. That's a big dip. It's also caused in the 4-hour, really oversold there on the RSI. The last time we were here, oversold in the RSI. We're actually down oversold for quite a while. So this does not necessarily mean a bounce is imminent, or at least a big bounce. We could definitely be down here for quite some time and still have very low price action. Even a nice little bounce could give a lot of that back and basically still have in these areas here. Stock RSI is also trying to reset. We'll go to the daily chart here, which again closes in about a half hour or so, and we basically see how the RSI is slowed down slightly. The stock RSI is kind of bottoming, but still not there yet. And the volume is kind of quiet. I mean, these are not bottom voluming areas here. It just kind of feels like there's not a lot of conviction here. And I talked weeks ago about the potential of a sub $100 Litecoin. We're not really there yet now, but for a while, at least the past couple of weeks, it felt like, wow, maybe we have bottom. Maybe 100, 110, at least the 110 area there was a really strong bottom. But seeing how quickly Litecoin can fall apart this way, who knows? But for now, we are finding support. We did pierce the lower Bollinger on the daily there. Right there, that candle there basically became us to an oversold position, just how we were overbought when we break through it here on the Bollinger on the daily chart. And of course, the higher the time frame you have on the Bollinger, the more conviction that signal will give you. So that's why on the daily chart, it's very interesting. We see such an oversold area here when we basically hit $133. That's why we actually had a little nice pop there. There were people saw a bargain in that, and there is a little bit of that, slight bottoming volume there, but it's really nothing crazy. That's why I'm not. The bounce is probably going to happen here, a couple bucks here and there. We might be able to get back over 140, which would be nice. Kind of balance out this dip here on the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're clearly going to close our sixth straight day of red. Could we have a couple more days of red? Possibly. Where's our super strong support? Well, honestly, for now, 110 to 120. Maybe 130. I mean, kind of a there. I mean, if you kind of buy at 133, I guess you could buy at 130. So really, we're very close to really where we want to be to hold and basically try and go higher here. But I mean, if Bitcoin were to break at that 8,000 and go into the sevens at some point, all bets are off with Litecoin. We could see much lower prices. But for now, if Bitcoin is able to bounce, we might be able to ride a little bit of this wave here. So we'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Now, Ethereum had one of the better runs out of the majors here. We see the stock RSI on the daily chart is resetting. We see the RSI, though, is very high still. So in theory, this RSI could come a lot lower, as well as the price as well. We are finding some support on the EMAs here on the daily. We're still above a bunch of them. On the 4-hour here, look at that. We haven't even touched the 200-day, which played such a role in so many alts. The 200-day on the 4-hour EMA. So we're not even there yet. So we're kind of still above it there. I would not be surprised at some point if we do touch this 200-day EMA to basically see if it is held support. And after that, it's kind of free air here. So you really want to see this area for Ethereum hold if it does want to kind of make a move higher. Right now it's 681. This could be a value buy here. It really could. Or it could still be kind of this short-term bounce to continue with a longer, consolidation period here. We just don't know. There's so much happening right now in crypto that's kind of giving a lot of conflicting ideas here. So one more here. We'll take a look at Bitcoin Cash, and similarly on the 4-hour, we basically see how it hasn't yet to touch the 200-day, but it's getting close, and we have a lot of long wicks there, and we had a lot of rejection here up here in this 1600 area here. Very quick drop off here. This one fell pretty quickly. The 4-hour was very oversold, had a nice bounce there. Let's see if you can hold it on the daily. We see how high the RSI still is, but the stock RSI is beginning to get into that reset area here. So potentially this could definitely come down lower. You would want to find support right around here to continue that bullish ride and kind of stay in this channel here. I mean, I guess that's a channel there, right there, corresponding to, maybe I'll go like there, little parallel lines there. So if we want to stay here, we definitely want to hold this. We might bounce it or test it at least one more time, but we're definitely not breaking down yet until we get through these EMAs. For now, we seem to be holding, and again, it's whatever Bitcoin wants to do. We can take a look at a couple alts here. Let's see what's going on. Let's take a look at ADA here. Actually, you know what? Let's do that here. I was kind of playing around with some Elliott waves here and some ABC corrections here. Not entirely sure if this is very accurate here, but it is possible that we kind of have completed our first A correction and we might be going up to a B wave. Now, it's not necessarily true that the B wave was going to surpass the fifth wave of our nice Elliott wave pattern here on our way up, but it could. And then we still have that C wave left, which could potentially put us lower than that A wave to begin with here. We have 1, 2, 3 up wave there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just a lot of red in ADA over the past several days here. We saw a lot of capitulation volume here, so this could be interesting in terms of value entries here, somewhere in those high 2,000, low 3,000 Satoshi areas. Take a look at NEO. This is another one here. A lot of these charts are very similar here, where you have kind of this super dump followed by this kind of 3 inside out candle holding. Now we're still kind of holding this area here. So this is very encouraging to see that we're able to keep above this price line here. How oversold we were on the 4-hour. Obviously, a bounce was in order here. The question is, people, is money coming back into crypto? I mean, this is kind of gut wrenching. Where you feel like a couple weeks ago, I bet you a lot of new money was like, I want to be in on this. I want to be in on these alts. I don't want to miss it. And what could have been happening here is a lot of people may have bought the top, and I'm now figuring out I don't know what to do. So like Verge is another example of it here, where I put a tweet out last night where it was basically coming to this nice confluence here. Was it going to break up? Was it going to break down? Boy, did it break down. Boom. And that kind of just blew through super quick here. Now, have we found a bottom? I don't really have a lot of conviction in it. I mean, look at, we have the support area here. So we are putting in this kind of higher low. Oops. You know, here. Wow, that is not working very well. And no, that's not working well either. You get the idea. Where are we putting in slightly a higher low here? You know, we did find support here. You know, it actually looks to be, yeah, it actually is a higher low from there and from there. And now we're coming kind of over to here. So we have some support here. So 1, 2, 3. It is that kind of higher low situation here. So are these value entries? They could be. You know, these could be right now very good value entries from oversold positions. The 4 hour shows oversold. The daily shows still room to come down though. We've seen really when you want to bounce is when you're super oversold. A lot of people that just trade daily charts when the RSI basically breaches that, 30 point there where you get into oversold conditions. That sets up your best risk versus reward situation. Take a look at one more here. This is ZRX, which has basically been the major winner, or one of the major winners, I would say, through this run here, almost 400%. This was at 5,000. Now to 20,000. Now a couple things you have to keep an eye on here on the daily chart. What do we have here? We have two really nasty wicks right here, yesterday and today. Now this is kind of a, I don't know, spinning top indecision doji, but I kind of see that as bearish. And listen, we've come so far, 400% in 2 months. Okay, I don't care if you're a stock or a crypto, that's a lot in a very short amount of time here. So I think a lot of people are kind of keeping an eye on this one, seeing how high the RSI is on the daily. OBV is very strong here. They want to get in. This could be a coin that could really be a big player in the future. But for now, do you really want to touch this thing that's so overheated? You give a weekly stand here, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're in the 8th week of green candles. That's awesome. But you see, when we did breach the RSI back over here, we were up here for a little bit of time, but clearly a trend change, and then we had this massive pullback. So I would like to see a nice weekly red candle at some point to give me some sense that this chart isn't completely nuts. And then I wouldn't be surprised if you see people wanting to kind of scale in and get on the OX boat at some point. But for now, I just feel like I wanted to really correct. We're pretty high over a lot of these indicators here. However, it could definitely keep moving higher. We have broken out of that previous resistance somewhere around 19,000 there. Because we're in this new all-time high area, it is possible it could establish some more higher highs. There are examples like Ethereum, Litecoin, and what have you, which have basically just ran and kept on moving. When Litecoin decided to not be $4 anymore, but to be $14, or when Ether was $4 and was decided that $30 is the more valuable, more reasonable price for it. Happened pretty quick, and it did not get any of that back. So there are examples of that in crypto where you have this parabolic move that actually holds. So we'll see how it goes. I think kind of end it there, guys. Listen, just be careful out there. Bitcoin still runs the show. I basically feel that we've reached some sort of support area here in this 8,300 area here. I would not be surprised if we kind of through the night find some support, try and get a little bounce under us because we are oversold in some areas here. But regardless from that, we still could go much lower over the next several days here, back into the sevens. And from there, I mean, really anything's on the table here. We could be putting in some sort of a massive kind of arcing head and shoulders, if you will, some sort of a big kind of mound play where this was just artificial run here. Now we're just going to dump because there just is not a lot of support here. Especially if we get into this green candle range here, which just went straight up with no support under it. Very possible that if we break 8,000 with conviction, we could be flirting with the sevens It'll be very interesting to see how the sevens hold up. But until then, we're not there yet. We're still around 8,400. Definitely some room to move here. Definitely could be finding some support here. Keep an eye on the volume. It is the weekend. We do have consensus starting next week, which is a big convention. Going to see a lot of mainstream media reports talking about it. Another interesting thing I'll just kind of end on here is look at the market cap. We've dropped quite a bit. We were in the 450 billion range like last week. Now we're back to 385. Bitcoin dominance has risen as some of those alts have kind of fallen apart. And apparently we've added some more coins here. So, they just keep on coming. Historical data here, we're basically seeing volumes lights under 7. Today's volume 8,500. How much of that is dumping volume, how much of that is loading volume? If there is a seller, there is a buyer, so you have to kind of keep that in mind. Is this kind of getting closer to your bottoming volume, or does this actually mean we have more red to come? For now, I feel we've probably found some sort of stability in this area here, but we'll kind of see how it goes. Keep your stop losses tight, trade safe. Please remember to follow me on Twitter. I am at Big Chonas. I'm just a guy who likes to talk crypto and give you my thoughts and ideas and opinions. I live and breathe crypto. I try and look at every chart I can find, look at a lot of other people's Twitter feeds, try and get a sense of what the market thinks and feels, and basically relay that to my trading decisions and some of my tweets as well. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.